That's what they said to me. Where did you hear about it? Where did I hear about it? So the Durham, I had that guy Durham. He testified today, or maybe yesterday or today.
Hey, boy, I love you.
Congress.
I love
So
you.
I want to show you some of it. So
I love you.
when the
I
Durham
always
report,
love you.
this is how it was covered in the press.
You can go
Trump
back
was right.
inside.
Russia collusion
You don't
was a
need to be.
hoax.
You can go
That's what
back
the
in.
Durham report revealed.
You can go back in.
Remember, even Jake Tapper.
Regardless, the report is now here. It has dropped, and it
You
might
can
not
go
have
back
raised
in.
everything of what some Republicans hoped for. It is regardless
You can go back
devastating
in.
to the FBI, and to a degree, it does exonerate Donald Trump.
Here's what he found. Here's what Durham found. Durham said the FBI should never have launched an investigation into alleged Russian collusion with Donald Trump's summer 2016 campaign, given the slim evidence. So he was testifying in Congress, and so he's what? Listen to this. This is.
Mr. Durham, in the summer of 2016, did our government receive intelligence that suggested Secretary Clinton had approved a plan to tie President Trump to Russia?
Yes.
Was that intelligence important enough for Director Brennan to go brief the President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, the Attorney General of the United States, and the Director of the FBI?
Yes.
And was that intelligence put then into a memorandum, a referral memorandum?
Yes. So what he's saying is that the CIA knew they had intelligence, they had collected intelligence that the Hillary Clinton campaign was going to do a psyop and try to smear Donald Trump.
Oh, it's Thursday already.
Calling him a traitor and all that stuff. The CIA knew
Thursday
this.
already.
Not only did they know.
There's noise upstairs, so I hope this is working to keep that noise out and the good noise in. The weather here has been, for me, I think it's great because it's June 21st and it's like I'm in London. I love it. Normally and soon we'll have this really hot tropical weather that I'm not a fan of. I don't know, it's nothing terrible, I don't think, but there's something, I'm not feeling good, so it's like if I had to guess, I'm getting an attack of gout. So if I'm a little off tonight, well,
I'm Chris Wallace of Fox News, and
Chris Wallace, dickhead. Sorry for my language. Sorry for my language. Hey Donna, I'm not overdressed, believe it or not. I could actually put on a jacket and feel perfectly fine. I mean, like a raincoat or something, and I'd feel fine. The temperature here is 67 degrees, and it's headed lower, but there's also a wind, and it's raining, and I'm probably pushing it by sitting out here. It'll probably rain and I'll have to run inside, but I like being out here. I like it. I haven't taken Lucky for a walk yet. I took him for a long walk this morning, and he hasn't eaten his food all day, so there's no urgency for him to walk again. And we had a very late walk last night, like 11 o'clock at night, which I think was a little bit dangerous. I think I'll avoid doing that again. It's a new world out there. It's a new world. And I'm part of as you know, I'm part of the single class of human being who has mistreated the rest of the world. A white straight male. I'm it. Everyone else has had a hard time, but we don't have a hard time. That's a good thing. We don't have a hard time. Well, Donald Lynn, one of the news stories I read, I'd say 2 days ago, might have been one day, but one of the guys that had worked on that sub said that it's going to just, it was 2 days ago, that it was just going to get crushed down below. It's just a horrible thing. Just a horrible thing. The sound ended. The sound ended. Hey, Perry, Newfie. So, it is sad about the sub, but, you know, M. Casey, I don't think I'd go down there. So, I'm not, it is sad. I'm not taking away from the tragedy, but it's a little bit like jumping out of a plane with a parachute. I can skip it. So anyway, here's benchmark, June 22nd, finger motion, 5 smackers is their target. One thing I left inside are my glasses, but that's all right. I can still, I don't know what, it's weird. My eyesight has always been perfect to read, and lately, all right, so this is benchmark, and the headline here, the category is can you see that? China Internet. What's interesting to me is benchmark is who referred Finger to Lynn Partners. And this chart doesn't go back far enough to show that the stock was somewhere around $3 to my memory. And if, as we're talking, I can find a chart, I'll confirm that. When the Lynn Partners funded them, then they just drove it down, down, down. And then here was this rally to $10 basically. That didn't last very long. And then the Lynn Partners and benchmark hooligans come in and start selling it down, down, down. My point being, benchmark saw enough in the stock back here, and Lynn did in the business plan, but they didn't put out a report then. They spent this period of time stealing from the market, then it breaks out, and then they took all this back down. The good news, I think, although there's people that say differently, according to Tom Ronk's data, there's 147 million shares, I think that's the number, that have been shorted in Finger. Now, a lot of people, there's a guy that worked on the American exchange, says that's only one part of the data. It doesn't count the buys. Another guy says, you know, it's just computers selling, and then they sell it down, and then the computers buy it a couple of days later. It's not really short. And then those are basically the answers I get on it. My answer to it is a couple of things, 3 things. One, we've been watching it every single day. I don't see any buying at all. 2, don't the computers go both directions? Why is it in company after company after company after company after company, this strategy that seems to be A-OK of selling the stock down that you don't own and then buying it back cheaper? How come the stocks never go up? You can use that same computer to drive the stock upward. I think I know why. Because they don't have any capital. They're just defrauding the markets. And I just really want to emphasize there hasn't been any buying in the shares. Lind Partners or their racketeering buddies over at Benchmark or elsewhere, and everything's in my judgment, in opinion, sold something like 90 million shares in 2 weeks. This collapse, they sold like 90 million shares right over here, 2 or 3 weeks. Now, what you're seeing in the stock price now, and I don't even know where it closed, is whoever is short this, and it's possible that Lind has given way to their prime broker. It's possible that other benchmark players are in it. Anything's possible. But the note was with Lind, and that's what gives protection. The toxic note. Might as well just call it a counterfeiting note. Let me see where everything closed. I'm not going to, it's signed out. I'm not going to sign back in, so I'm going to give you the approximate close. Yeah, I think I'm getting gout. I think that's what's been bothering me. My elbow is in, so I can't use my right elbow. But it's something that goes through your whole body, at least for me. 85 cents on GTII. We'll talk about GTII. And Finger, $2.99. Are you out of your mind? They tried, anyway, the point I was trying to make on Finger is they're trying to suppress it. And that gives me all the indication that I need that there is a huge short position in Finger. Everyone else buys off on these excuses and lies that these smiling faces give. But okay. Now, I wanted to read, I haven't read this yet. We'll try to go through it from Benchmark. I'd point out that Benchmark, when Finger engaged Benchmark low a year and a half ago, approximately, this was part of the deal. But for some reason, Benchmark, who liked their business plan well enough to be an IB for the company and then refer Lind Partners, and Lind Partners liked it enough, I have that quote somewhere here, saying that we're pleased, Philip Vallier, we're pleased to be here to assist Finger in its growth. I'll try to find that as we talk. I need more room. But anyway, they loved it well enough to finance it. But what they didn't like well enough was to put out the research report. Well, what's changed? I think what's changed is that the stock's starting to move. And Benchmark wants to be able to tell their future victims, hey, look what a good job we've done. Here was the August 10th, 2022 announcement. Finger receives $4 million investment from the Lind Partners to accelerate growth. And then it has the necessary comment from the CEO that this is great, and blah, blah, blah. But then you see in the middle here, we are pleased to invest in Finger Motion to support their vision and growth initiatives, said Philip Vallier, managing director at the Lind Partners. We are pleased to be investing in Finger at such an exciting time as they expand into new lines of business. The conversion price on this, $2 a share. So the stock was selling higher, and I'm sure that Lind Partners or one of the benchmark clients, somebody, drove it down, taking money out of the market, and that's what they gave to Finger. They didn't raise any money. They just illegally shorted the stock, signed this note, gave that money over. I don't know the exact mechanics, but that's you get the broad brush. This was a $4.8 million note, and they did it at a 20% discount. And then Lind Partners didn't want Finger to buy this back. But I put that all there as some predicate simply to point out that Benchmark was supposed to put out a research report months, if not a year ago. They did their due diligence then. The company, I showed you what Finger does, from data to top up to insurance companies to Apple Pay they're doing, and Netflix of China. All of these things were true then, and the growth was then. But I think the criminals wanted to feast. They just wanted to feast. And what's happening right now, where I drew that orange circle, is we're having a turn up in the price of the stock. And I think Benchmark wants to get out in front of that, so then they can go give propaganda to new victims that, hey, our research made the stock move. Somebody's buying it, and it has nothing to do with this research report. But let's just go through it. We are initiating coverage of Finger Motion with a buy rating and a price target of $5 a share. Finger is a mobile data specialist company providing mobile data and recharge solutions in China, with its recent venturing into VAS, I don't know what that is, and big data. Our positive views are based on our belief that, one, we and our racketeering buddies are done crushing the stock. We've already taken our profits out of it. Oh, I made that up. They didn't say that. Our positive views are based on our belief that, one, Finger's long-standing partnerships with top telcos, coupled with their proprietary technology and capability to access funding like the Lind Partners. This is all I don't know what word to use, but this is Disneyland. When CEOs walk up to New York and they get an introduction from Benchmark, it goes to the Lind Partners. Lind Partners calls their buddy Kurt Kramer, I don't know, and they all just start feasting. It's got to stop. And the way it stops, number one, is transparency. Show the data. Show the data. The shorts know how many shares they're shorting. We don't. We have to piece it together. Buy the data from Tom Ronk at buyins.net. But make it a level playing field. Okay, so let me start again. Our positive views are based on our belief that, one, Finger's long-standing partnerships with top telcos, telecommunications companies, coupled with their proprietary technology, Finger's proprietary technology, not the telcos, and capability to access funding ensures its top-up business is a stable and growing source of revenue at a gateway for data collection. So number one is their top-up business. Huge revenue grower, huge potential for stable revenue growth forever. 2, the company's growth outlook is set to accelerate meaningfully in fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 25, underpinned by the imminent commercialization in VAS, whatever that is. Let's think what it could be. Visual, audio. We'll find out what VAS is. And big data. So the second thing is big data, which we've talked about. And that is analogous to the company SNOW, Snow. And 3, the recurring nature of VAS and big data revenues warrant strong operating leverage and consequently unleashes substantial earnings power. That must just drive them crazy because they want to have a company they can destroy. All right, so then up in this corner, they have the numbers. And let's see if I can see them with you. Current price, $2.89. Price target, $5. 52-week range, 2 cents, which the buddies at Lynn Partners got it down to. And the high of $9.80. Shares outstanding, 44 million. Sorry, it's not 2 cents. That's my eyesight. The low on the year was 62 cents. Shares outstanding, 44 million. Market cap, 150 million. Average volume, 367,000. That's recently. It hasn't always been that high. And enterprise value of 144 million. That's very interesting. There was some talk on the Twitterati's that, their debt is so big. Look at the market cap, 150. Look at the enterprise value, 144. They're in good shape. And then the sector weighting over at these geniuses at Benchmark, they have an overweight. Okay, so next bullet point, mobile top-up, and I've described that to you in all the rest of the world. When you have a cell phone, you top up your minutes monthly, either on your computer or by buying a top-up card. So Finger has the right, I think it's one of 3 companies that has the right to buy from China Telecom and China Unicom minutes at a discount and then resell it into the marketplace. There may be more companies, and there might be one more company they're able to buy it from too. Mobile top-up business serves as a stable and growing source of revenue and a gateway for data collection. Mobile top-up service in China is a large and highly fragmented market with a high barrier to entry. I don't know why they couldn't have written this a year ago. I guess they had some criming to do. Only licensed players are allowed to offer the services. This, by the way, is when Finger went on the NASDAQ, right before this. So there's no reason they couldn't have had this out before. Only licensed players are allowed to offer the services, and they often operate at subscale due to their lack of capital. And that happened to Finger for a while. In other words, you have to give cash to China Telecom to get the minutes so that you can resell them. And that was one of the reasons they were going to the marketplaces to raise money. And then you run into the buzzsaw of Philip Vallier and Jeff Easton at the Lynn Partners. Whether they're the front for other people shorting or not, they are part of it. Everything on this video is in my opinion and in my judgment. If someone at the SEC or FBI wants to test my theory, you can come on right here and ask the question. But I encourage you to get time and sales from Lynn Partners and all of their associated entities, and just follow the money. You remember Richard Nixon, follow the money? Well, follow the money and follow benchmark. And just ask yourself one thing. Why do Philip Valier and Jeff Easton and Hailey Kim and Sam Chung and John Hancock, why do they live in prestigious homes and get beautiful office space near Trump Tower when every company they finance, every one, and the fees up front are very small, de minimis. How do they get their wealth? Is it possible when every single company they finance goes down to the basement? Bragg is the only one that hasn't gone down yet, but it will. But everything from vocal to finger motion, they destroy. And there's a whole list of them. So, I don't know, ask yourself that before you start wondering, am I promoting? The fact is that you guys are not investigating the crime that happens every single day across thousands of companies. You're not investigating that. And that's to your shame. That is to your eternal shame. Just follow the money with these guys. How can they be so wealthy when they destroy every single company they sign up? Look at the chart. This is Benchmark. Benchmark introduced Finger to Lynn Partners. And then they went on a carnivore spree. All right, so mobile top-up. Only licensed players are allowed to offer the services, and they often operate at subscale due to their lack of capital. Finger's long-standing partnerships with China Mobile and China Unicom, coupled with its proven proprietary technology, offer a stable and visible source of revenue with ample headroom for growth. They all go to research school and they all use the exact same vocabulary. Research analyst school. Should the company have access to incremental funding? So there's plenty of headroom for growth if they get additional funding anywhere but the Lynn Partners. More importantly, the top-up services enable data collection, which has laid the foundation for the commercialization of its value-added service. VAS, value-added service. We should try open a drugstore. Call it VAS. You all know, of course, what CVS stands for. Value-added service, VAS, and big data products down the road. Okay, then they highlight growth in fiscal year 24, next year and 25, is set to accelerate. It's already been accelerating, but anyway, we'll leave that aside. Is set to accelerate, bolstered by imminent commercialization of value-added services and big data. Backed by a global top device protection plan, that's what they call AppleCare. It's analogous to AppleCare. Finger is slated to roll out its mobile device protection product in China in second quarter 24, in collaboration with China Unicom and China Mobile. That's really exciting. This is a real company, real fundamentals. Didn't stop them from destroying the stock, though. The company targets 350,000 to 1 million subscribers with an estimated, I don't know what that means. Right here. The company targets 350,000 over 1 million subscribers. I understand that. With estimated revenue contribution of 360,000 over 2 million in full year 24 and full year 25. In addition, with signed contracts with Pacific Life Re and Munich Re, FNGR is set to commercialize its big data insights, providing insurtech services such as risk scoring. The company aims to offer more advanced, in-depth applications enabled by greater granular. This is another word they get out of research analyst school. Granular customer segmentation to ensure commissions. That's what we'd like to hear. Commissions and profit shares. While its big data initiatives are still in the early stage, we believe it promises optionality. Now, there is one of the first words you learn at research analyst school, optionality. We believe it promises optionality on revenue and profitability upside in the long run. Then, highly leverageable model promises substantial earnings power ahead. With higher revenue mix shifting towards VAS and big data, we foresee a notable boost to the blended GPM, whatever that is, gross profit margin, I assume, in full year 24 and 25. With anticipation of moderate growth in operating expenses, we think FNGR can unleash substantial earnings power in the coming years thanks to its highly scalable business model. But over the last year, we haven't felt that way, and we've encouraged our buddies just to short the SHYTE out of the stock, because that's how we really make our money. We anticipate the company will break even in fourth quarter 24 and turn profitable in full year 25. We view these events as potential re-rating catalysts. They could re-rate it higher than overweight and buy. But first, a little chi-chi. So it's important to look at the numbers here. Right now, they're looking at actual revenue in Q1 23, actual of 4.9 million. They're showing as actual. I don't know how they know these numbers. That A must mean something other than actual. I don't think they can know the whole year. But they're showing 5 million in Q2 this year, 11.4 million in quarter 3 this year, and 12.8 million for a total of 34 million in 2023. That's their revenue projection. 4.9 in the first quarter, 5 in the second, 11 in the third, and 12 in the fourth, for a total of 30 million in total revenue this year. They give the enterprise value here times the revenue of 4.2x. So it's trading at 4 times its estimated revenue this year. I don't know what the proper metric should be, but what's interesting, just to look at this, the 24 estimates, they don't go to 25. They estimate 12.6 in the first quarter of 24 in revenue, 14.8 estimate in quarter 2 next year, 21 million in quarter 3, and 26.4 million in quarter 4 next year. So it's a total of basically 75 million in revenue they're estimating for next year. So if you buy this stock and you end up just holding it, one way to look at it, 75 million times this year's multiple of revenue would give a $315 million enterprise value, and if you divide it by the current 44 million shares outstanding, acknowledging that of course they could issue more, that's $7 a share. And so that's kind of a conservative growth projection for the stock over the next 12 months. But that's on revenue. Typically with stocks in the internet space, they look at other metrics, and I'm not an expert in it, but eyeballs, growth in customer base, data. There's other things. So I think the $7 is a very conservative number. Okay, page 2. Investment thesis from Benchmark Capital. Now that we and our partners have stripped hundreds of millions of dollars from the market cap of FNGR and moved it offshore without paying taxes, we are initiating... I made that up. That's not what it says here. So we are initiating coverage of finger motion with a buy rating and a price target of $5. I hope they didn't just repeat. I hope it's not repetitive. If it's repetitive, I'll skim over it. FNGR is a mobile data specialist company providing mobile payments and recharge platform solutions in China. Okay, that's repetitive. Big data commercialization offers optionality. See, you don't have to go to business school. You're learning a word that in any conversation you have. Dear, I didn't make it home tonight because I went to Fridays just to provide myself optionality. Inroads in big data commercialization offer optionality for long-term growth. With years of investment in its big data technology, years of investment, this didn't just happen last week, and its proprietary platform Sapientus, FNGR now has made early inroads into commercialization. With signed contracts with Pacific Life Re and Munich Re, the company is set to commercialize its big data insights, providing insurtech services. The company aims to offer advanced in-depth applications enabled by more granular. So, honey, when I stopped by the bar, I increased my optionality, and I have to be honest with you. I did get a little more granular with one of the waitresses that was there. Customer segmentation okay, I read that already. So they just repeated the same info. Okay, Finger Motion is a mobile data specialist company providing mobile payment and recharge solutions to China. We get paid for repeating the same paragraph over and over again. The company offers telecommunication providers products and services, including data plans, subscription plans, mobile phones, and loyalty points redemption services. The company also provides bulk short message service, SMS, and multimedia messaging services, MMS. Additionally, FNGR operates Sapientus, a proprietary big data insights platform which delivers data solutions tailored for businesses in insurance, healthcare, financial services, etc. Finger Motion Inc. is headquartered in New York. Finger offers telecommunication providers products and services, including data plans, subscription plans, mobile phones, and loyalty point redemption services. Hey, Molly, we have to get this report out, and it's got to be 10 pages. Could we just repeat the same sentences over several times? Because we're being paid for this report, and we want it to make it look like we're doing a good job. We believe that the unique value proposition in Finger lies, 1, in their secured licenses with top telco partners in China, 2, their proprietary pigeonhole integration system, PIS, and 3, their capability to tap public funding. According to Global Data, which is, I guess, a data service provider, the total mobile service revenue in China is projected to increase from 131 billion in 2021 to 173 billion in 2028. A CAGR of 5.6%. I think that's a current annual growth rate, but I'm just checking my understanding of that whatever the word is, the 4 letters, of 5.6%. So that could be, C could be because in oil and gas they do it as a discounted. I don't know. Anyway, whatever CAGR stands for, I think it's I'm having a hard time. I should know it. All right. Mainly driven by the robust growth in mobile data services. Instead of paying a monthly subscription, consumers in China tend to leverage the top-up services to take advantage of the promotions and discounts offered by channel players. Top-up service market in China is highly fragmented with a high barrier to entry. So Molly, let's just take the sentence from the first page. We'll put it back in here. Only licensed players are allowed to offer the services, and they often operate at sub-scale owing to the lack of funding in respect to the prepayment model. Let's just add to that first sentence on the first page, Molly, and we'll put it here as well. Finger is an established player in the space with long-running and growing partnerships with the top 3 telecommunication operators in China: China Mobile, China Unicom, and recently China Telecom. So they got deals with all 3. These 3 players provide Finger with potential access to 60% of the total market. And remember, that market size is expected, at least in the mobile service area, that market size is expected to be 173 billion US dollars in 3 years, 2.5 years. So they have potential access to 60% of that, or $100 billion per annum. In addition, the company's proprietary exchange platform pigeonholes integration systems, ensures seamless integration between telecommunication operators and online stores, and allows flexibility offerings across multi-platforms. The platform reliability, well tested through years of operation, we only feel comfortable putting a report out now, even though we knew about this when we first funded the company. Especially during peak usage times, for example, the holidays, has earned Finger the trust of both their consumers and their partners. We believe Finger's proprietary technology, coupled with their long-standing partnerships with top telcos, offer a stable and viable source of revenue with ample headroom for growth. Molly, let's just use that sentence 3 times in the report. Try to fit it in once on each of the first 3 pages. Should the company have access to incremental capital? We anticipate key drivers for future growth. 1, continued product upgrades, service cross-selling and upselling, including their recent venturing on subscription plan acquisition and mobile phone sales. 2, regional expansion. 3, including geographic expansion from the current 15 provinces and municipalities in operation today. And 3, last but not least, the heralded VAS, VAS, value-added service, which we will entail on our next section. They're going to entail it. A little concerned what entailing has to do with detailing, but hey, if you're a crack research outfit, you use words your own way, and we'll go along with it. Okay, so CAGR is compound annual growth. So obvious, compound annual growth. So just shows what an idiot I can be sometimes. I can't tell you how many times in my life I've looked that one up. Okay, so here's the key products that we talked about. They do a different breakdown than I did with you, but their key product and service offerings are recharge services, data plan, mobile phones, subscription plan, and value-added products and services. So they broke it out a little differently. I'm not going to bore you with this, but I'll show it to you. Here's their the 3 telecommunications companies here. Unos, dos, tres. And then the services down here, downstream partners. I don't want to bore you trying to read all that, but they go here. The products that they're running through China Mobile are recharge service, data plans, subscription plans, and mobile protection plans. China Unicom, recharge service, data plan, subscription plans, mobile protection plans. China Telecom, recharge service, and data plan. And then here's some of their downstream partners. In the middle of this chart are some of their downstream partners: Tmall, Pinduoduo, and Taobao. And it's basically they're as a gateway, I guess, as a toll booth to the online shopping. Okay, now we're going to entail the details. We'll see what the entail details. We'll see what the detail entails here on VAS. The mobile project plans set to be monetized in fiscal year 24. With its established and growing partnerships with telcos and online e-commerce stores, Finger expects to roll out more value-added products and services down the road. An imminent product is its mobile device protection plans. He calls that Apple Care, as when he's pitching, when he's describing it. In February 2022, the company signed an agreement with both China Unicom and China Mobile to cooperate on the rollout of the Mobile Device Protection Plan that is incorporated into the telco's subscription plans as they launch new mobile phones, including the new 5G models. The mobile device protection plans are backed by a top global device protection insurance company and are slated to launch in full year, or sorry, I don't know what the F is there for, second quarter 24. The company projects 350,000 subscribers in full year 24 and 1 million subscribers in full year 25. With a proven model, we anticipate the company to gain access to more providers in more regions across more subscription plans. I wonder why they couldn't have put this research out sooner. Okay, SMS and RCS de-emphasizing due to regulatory and executive challenges. Finger offers SMS services through its integrated platform in China to several industries, including airlines, insurance, financial services, e-commerce, and consumer markets. We view SMS as a commodity-like service with a low barrier to entry. That makes sense. The company has currently placed this service on the back burner, attributable to regulatory tightening and unfavorable pricing. That makes sense. With increasing mobile network upgrades to 5G globally, Rich Communication Services, RCS, is expected to replace SMS in light of its capacity to not only support person-to-person messaging, but also application-to-person messaging. A2P messaging enables businesses and brands to communicate with users via chatbot, facilitates the sharing of high-quality videos and more direct interfacing with the internet. High-quality videos like, for example, this video could be sent across Rich Communication Services, so all of your friends would be able to tune in. This enables consumers to bypass app downloads for direct transactions and offers brands a new marketing channel to acquire, retain, and serve their customers. Finger has completed the development of its RCS platform. We are positive on the upside potential that RCS could offer longer term, but we are unclear on the timeline of a full-blown commercialization due to highly fragmented industries and adoption resistance of status quo value chain players. Molly, if you could write sentences without periods and without commas, colons, semicolons, I'd appreciate it. Just write run-on sentences. We want our investors to feel like we're so smart, we must be saying something, even though we don't say it very clearly. We anticipate the company will allocate its resources to areas with higher imminent margin potential, such as VAS and big data services. All right, believe it or not, I'm going to get a coat before I read Big Data Insights. And I'll tell you that Finger Motion is trading at 305 in the aftermarket. I'll be right back. It's cold out here. I made a little snack too. Little snack for myself. Much better. Much, much better. Oh, that's great. All right, we're almost done, and then I'll read questions. We're almost done, though. Okay, Finger launched its proprietary platform, Sapientus, in July of 2020. Again, I don't know why they couldn't have written this research report sooner. It's almost like they didn't want to help the stock price go up. As its big data insights arm, which delivers data-driven solutions and insights for businesses within insurance and financial services industries. Sapientus, kind of a clunky name, isn't it? I don't know what it stands for, but you probably do. It's some Greek god or something. Sapientus, specializing in data mining and insights extraction by transforming raw telco data into basic building blocks, statistical measures, and behavioral inferences, while layering in auxiliary contextual information to extract behavioral insights and power intelligent applications. Just leave that sentence in, Molly. It's great. The company's proprietary risk assessment engine offers standard and customized scoring and appraisal services based on multidimensional factors enabled by extensive data coverage through exclusive telco partnerships. Finger augments and shares value with its partners through various big data-enabled applications, including preferred risk selection, precision marketing, product customization, and claims management, and fraud detection. Hey, I wonder if they could go to the SEC or FINRA. Fraud detection. In the first half of 22, last year, FINRA secured a contract with Pacific Life Re, but we didn't put a research report out on it because, it wasn't a big deal. But here it is a big deal a year later. Finger secured a contract with Pacific Life Re, a global life reinsurance. That's how it's written, a global life reinsurance, to develop a holistic, multifaceted risk rating concept by drawing data from novel sources and filtering them through algorithms with the ultimate goal to apply new insights generated from its predictive model to the traditional insurance industry. In August of 2022, the company locked in an additional contract with Pacific Life Re to advance the next phase of collaboration. The contract value has partially been amortized through full year 23 and the rest spilling over to full year 24. In December 22, Finger secured an extension of their ongoing behavioral research and analytics studies with Munich Re, a global reinsurer, into commercial implementation in the China market. The companies are planning to bring forward their jointly developed model algorithms and analytic insights for productionized applications and aiming for wider market adoption. Revenue contribution from Munich Re is expected to be amortized in full year 24 and full year 25. We anticipate key drivers for future growth in this segment to be expansion and upgrades of current risk scoring and measuring services with existing partners, as well as recruitment of new partners. 2, advanced in-depth applications enabled by more granular customer segmentation, which adds more value and warrants commissions and profit shares. And 3, expansion of services beyond these insurance applications. For example, Finger's generalized rating system can help conduct smart underwriting for financial loans or chart consumer behaviors and risk propensities to inform e-commerce business solutions. And it might even be able to track counterfeit shares in the United States financial systems. I added that. The company's platform can be used standalone. Can be used as a standalone, but here we go. Can be used standalone as an independent rating tool, as well as offered as part of an integrated system, joining forces with various ecosystem partners on data access, customer relationships, advanced analytics, product and service capabilities. And here is a beautiful chart of what Sapientus can do. And let's just see. Okay, financial analysis. The company has demonstrated solid growth over the last several years, but we're only just getting around to putting out a research report because we really didn't want the stock to go up while our partners were all shorting the crap out of it. Over the last several years, with a 2-year CAGR, and now we all know CAGR is compound annual growth rate, 2-year compound annual growth rate of 43% in fiscal year 21 and through 23. That's huge, but we don't want to put out a research report on that. Primarily driven by its telecommunications products and services, we anticipate robust growth in fiscal year 24 and 25 with a 2-year CAGR, compound annual growth rate, of 93%. That's huge. So then, one, continued robust growth from telecommunications products and services with access to incremental funding away from the Lynn partners, we hope. 2, net incremental contribution from value-added services as the company ramps up its mobile device protection programs. 3, incremental revenue contribution from big data service, PAC Re and Munich Re. And 4, moderate growth of SMS and MMS segments, with resources being allocated towards higher growth profitable areas. And then here they give a chart. We love charts. This is 21, 22, 23. You see the compound annual growth here at 43%, but we don't want to put a report out in these couple of years because all of our investors got in our offering that we ran through Lynn Partners and they wanted to short the stock. But now that it looks like it's going up and that deal's been bought back, remember, Finger bought back that entire toxic note. Now we're ready to project 23 through 25 compound growth at 93% a year. Okay, more importantly, unlike the commodity like TPS and SMM's businesses, revenue from value-added services and big data is recurring in nature and highly profitable. We estimate gross profit margins for VAS and big data at 40% and 70% respectively. That's huge. 40% profit margins and 70% profit margins, and your revenue is growing. Finger is an excellent growth company. As long as they stay away from these toxic lenders like Lynn Partners, who benchmark referred Finger to. With moderate growth in operating expenses, we anticipate the company reaches break even in fourth quarter 24 and turns profitable in 25. And they give you a chart to that effect. Nothing like a chart to say. Okay. Valuation. Our price target of $5 represents 1.6 times our full year 25 revenue estimate of 126 million. The multiple is in line with our China Internet Comp group. We acknowledge that the company deserves a higher multiple considering its hyper growth profile against its peer group, but we want to give our associated racketeers a chance to close out their short positions before we really ramp up our recommendation. They didn't write that. But we have decided to take a discount on its ratio to account for the higher risk profile, especially in doing business with groups like the Lin Partners. Especially the execution risks in association with an early stage company to deliver their growth and profit targets. That's somewhat reasonable, actually, although I would argue fingers far beyond an early stage company. But any growth projections, you've always got to be a little bit skeptical of. As the company proves its track record on execution and shows a healthy revenue mix from higher quality segments, we are expecting a meaningful re-rating opportunity. In particular, as we mentioned earlier, Finger is expected to break even in the last quarter of 24 and turn profitable in 25. We view these events as potential catalysts for the stock. And here's their peer group. Alibaba, Autohome, Baidu, Tripcom, Huzhu, JD.com, Meituan, Monmo, Pinduoduo, Tencent, Tencent Music, ViewShop, Joy. Anyway, it's very hard to read those, but there's the peer group. I can't read it. And they list the risk factors, which, the early stage growth cycle, limited operating history, execution risks, especially if they take any kind of toxic convertible note deal with the Lin Partners again. Revenue is concentrated in China and China Mobile and China Unicom. So there's a high concentration risk. The growth of Finger's top-up business is conditioned on that is dependent on their ability to renew their licenses from their telco partners. Revocation of any existing license will pose substantial risk to our financial projections. Failure to access additional funding may result in slower growth in top-up services, but if they fail to access additional funding from groups like the Lin Partners, that may result in much higher share prices for shareholders. I added that last bit. Martin Shen has served as CEO from December 2018. 15 years of experience. Hugh Han Lee has served as CFO since 2020. Lots of experience. They give their financial models. They make disclosures. This is the researcher's personal view, which is interesting. So their highest rating is a buy. All of their covered companies, they have 278 buy recommendations, and on their investment banking clients, they have 40. What a buy means, is the stock is expected to outperform the analysts' defined sector industry index over the next 6 to 12 months. Okay, here's a disclosure. In the last 12 months, Benchmark and its affiliates have received compensation for investment banking services from the subject company. In the past 12 months, Benchmark and its affiliates have managed or co-managed a public offering of securities for the subject company. Benchmark and its affiliates expect to receive or intend to seek compensation for investment banking services from the subject company in the next 3 months. Benchmark makes a market in the securities of the subject company. And how? And they got other payment from the company. This publication does not constitute an offer or solicitation of any transaction. That's it. That's today's finger motion research report. So I'm sure you guys are talking amongst yourself much more interestingly than my little report. Finger motion is now 310 in the aftermarket. 305. It's asking 319. 2.373 million shares. All right, I'm gonna have a little cheese and cucumber. They've been expelled from FINRA before, and it didn't do DAC. The SEC has more clout than FINRA. That's the real meeting. Well, what kid got eaten by an alligator? That sounds terrible. Jenny L. It's a modest noshing, but I think it'll be good. And it'll keep me. The girl that was NJ. You are listening on your TV? So let me ask you something, New Jersey. Does that make me a television star? I think I've become a television star, at least in your house. Okay, I don't know about that, Stephen Tracy. I'm going to turn this off while just so I don't Well, Kevin Story asked me, what's the latest with Ham and his meeting with the Chinese investors? You have to know something. It is true. I know something. But that doesn't follow that I can talk about it. He did meet with them. And he did tell the story about the 147 million shares short. The group is a transnational or international group, so you're correct in saying Chinese, but it seems like a lot of the principals are either British or American or something, not Chinese. And I think they have operations in Singapore, something like that. I did learn today separately, completely separately, that one of the reasons that if they decide, and look, I wasn't told one way or the other whether they've engaged, whether Finger has engaged them, but my sense is this was an all hands on deck meeting, that it's likely, but we'll just have to, I'll have to wait for the news on that with everyone else. In terms of more business-like privileged information, Ham just said, "Look, I'm going to leave the meeting now that I've explained to you the situation." One of the reasons this group is successful in price movement is that one part of their company is an online brokerage firm, either out of Singapore or Hong Kong or somewhere. So when the gears get in motion, that can really trigger a lot of buying from offshore, outside of the United States investors. But I don't know much more than that. I think it's clear that somebody's been buying the stock. If I had to guess, these guys haven't even begun to buy. Or if they're buying, it's very slow right now. They may be in negotiation, I don't know. But if they buy in, it's a big group. This is all on Twitter. It's a big group. And apparently they helped run a lot of stocks like HKD and TOP. That's all on Twitter. So you're talking about a multi-billion-dollar pockets. I think if the stock if they start really deciding to commit to it, you're going to see much higher prices than that $5 number in this benchmark report. Somebody just... So you're saying there's a chance. Lee Wills, you make an excellent point. I think somebody's in there. Number one, I think Lynn Partners and or whoever came in to jointly attack Finger, they don't have deep pockets. They fight every bit of the way. Why not let the stock go up and sell stock from a higher level? You just got a research report out here at $5. If you're short and you really have a crack team that thinks it's not worth that much money, let it go to $5 and then sell it back down. But they can't because they're trapped. They're in trouble. They don't have a research team, these opportunistic shorts. They have a strategy to break the law. And They know that if they keep selling, eventually they break the heart of even the sternest of investors, the strongest of investors. So, but anyway, Lee, what you point out is exactly what I see. As the stock goes up, it feels like it's a professional buying, because as the stock pulls back, they let the Lynn partners, etc., just continue to hang themselves by selling more stock downward, and then they walk it right back up at the end of the day. I think the stock price is telling you a lot, and you don't need to know the particulars. The price action is saying it all as far as I'm concerned. West Virginia, 309. Wow. Are you out of your mind? 309? I see 307, but it must be delayed. That's awesome. Roscoe, any word on West Christian? Let me take another bite. M Echo. It's really annoying. I can't bend my elbow. Lee, I think that's Vonsi. What did I miss? HKD investor buying in Finger GTII. Vonsi, all I know is that's possible. I don't think there's any confirmation of that yet. And so I think when it happens, you'll know, if it happens. Now somebody's buying. And we'll find out, I think, Vonsi. We've had a nice increase in volume in GTII. Yeah, I have a feeling, like I've said, and maybe a little later we can talk about GTII again. I just want to I want to just wear out Finger because I really think Finger's on the verge of a big run. Is that a guarantee? No. But I think you could see Finger go to $5, $10, $15, $20 in a heartbeat. And the benefit to all of us, I think, is that money will go into GTII. It'll give credibility to this whole charade that goes on in the markets as well. And Perfect Sunny, working in the garden. It's cold here, but by the way, I love it. I like the sun, don't get me wrong, but to be able to sit outside in June, it's amazing. That's right, Lee. Vonsi, why you feel that Finger is on the verge? Because ham meeting? Let me take a bite. Whiteboard time, yeah. Donna, both GTI and Finger had good volume. What's Hong Kong guy's name on Twitter? I don't know. I'm sorry. I think I know the name of the group, but I'm not sure that I'm allowed to say it. And when I say I think I know it, I mean that. I mean I think I know it. But I don't have access to the Vansi. I don't think the stock. Vansi. There was a guy on several of the space calls that I'm really impressed with. His name is Pedro Philly, or Philly Pedro, something like that. And he said the stock price will tell you if the shorts are in trouble. I'm using my own words. He said it differently. But the point is, the reason I think Finger's about to run is that the stock action is giving you all of the indication, both from volume and price, that it's about to break out. Am I wrong? Yeah, sure, I could be wrong, Vansi. But the Lynn partners and their associates have had that under pressure for so long. Even I don't know the analogy, even a dead dog barks. That doesn't work. Oh, Stephen Tracy, so the water is bad for your plants, mold. Well, that's the problem with weather. Do I think Finger will only run to 20? Well, that's kind of an if-then type question. I don't know what price causes buy-ins at the prime brokers that the Lynn partners and benchmark clients maybe, or derivative clients, whoever they sold this deal to have been shorting it. Now there's a theory out there that it's just computers shorting and they cover later and everything's copacetic. I find that hard to believe. I don't see the buying, but we don't have full information. So that's one of the ifs. If there's 100 million or more shares to be bought in, 144, that's one if. 2, if a buy-in happens. 3, is it $5, $9, $15, $20 that causes that buy-in? That's another if. If Lynn partners and their buddies can sign some sort of, for lack of better word, now I'm forgetting the term, default swap with a bank, maybe they can stop the run. If they can use options, maybe they can stop the run. At some point in Finger, if we all get enthusiastic and just buy it head over heels, somebody's going to come in and try to sell it off. So there's a lot of ifs to answer your question. But in my opinion, Finger easily goes to $10, $15, $20 and could, in a buy-in, could go much higher than that. That's interesting, Paul. Snow might want to buy Finger to get into the China market. That's interesting. And they do it for stock. That'd be good for all of us. The key thing I would think there is to make sure the contracts carry over and the relationships. I mean, to me, it's pretty clear that one of the most valuable things Finger has is their relationships in China. Ramon, do you think the market will let HKD prices happen for Finger? It could. I tend to think HKD and TOP might have been manipulated, believe it or not, to help out margin problems with Ken Griffin and companies like that. It's possible Finger could go that high, but here are my cautions on Finger. It's NASDAQ, and I think they can stop trading on NASDAQ. There's puts and calls, so they can, I think, manipulate and hedge. If it were to go to something as high as 2,000 or 2,500 a share, at that point, for sure, big boys would come in to short it back down and try to make a killing with counterfeit share, with failed to delivers. See, Wall Street is allowed to sell shares they don't own. It's just we've learned that. So your question really becomes, when do the big boys start shorting it? Is it over $50, $100, $1,000? I don't know. There's going to be shorting in the stock as it goes up. There might have been shorting today. There might have been short. My neck is killing me. There might have been shorting today. But as the stock rallies, as I think it's going to, that's a projection. I can't guarantee it. I think it's going to. They're going to come in and cover. So, yes, Finger could have a heck of a run. But if you don't believe there's a huge amount of shares naked short, and it's only a much smaller number, how much higher does it go than 20? I don't know, 30, 40, 50. But if there's an enormous position and it all catches fire, yeah, it could go into hundreds of dollars. I used to think it could go exactly as high as GTII. So, but I really don't want you, particularly if you've bought calls, I don't want you to play for the big run, because they can wipe you. You know, the odds are they'll wipe you out. And on the stock, benchmark is a different group of people than Power Up Lending, and they may have buddies they can bring in to stop the run. I just don't know. And maybe it's just because my elbow's killing me, my neck's killing me, and I'm not being upbeat enough. But could Finger break out? Could they lose control of Finger to the upside? Absolutely, they could. And if they've got 140 million shares to cover, as Ham always says, look up. Yeah, risk management, and anger management. Always good to use anger management. I like that if you're real on-site TV, 500 to 1250. Finger was as high as 330 today. I think it actually got to 340 in the morning. But really, Finger is one to, well, play it whatever way you want to play it. If you own the stock, the worst thing that can happen is you don't get out at the highs and you end up owning the stock. I think in the long run, this is $100 stock anyway. If you had to hold it for, ceteris paribus, if you had to hold it for 3, 4, 5 years, I think it's over $100 stock anyway. Well, Brian, you may be right that it'll be controlled, but you also may be wrong. We'll just have to see. But your caution, Brian, is one that people should keep in their mind. because just make it a winning trade. Spiny, my risk management, bet it all on red. I like that. I know, Brian, I know. But if we're blessed with a big run, I don't know, let's say it goes to 15 or 10 or 20. That's going to be tough to decide. Is it breaking out? Should we hold on for 50? Should we hold on for 100? And it might just be prudent. Wouldn't be prudent. Might be just prudent to layer money out. See, that's a big research analyst word, layer money out. Find if Ham is saying anything, because I think that's going to be the key. Or one of the key sources of information. All right, so he says, I'll see if I can get this article. I'm not sure I can. Bloomberg, insider trading bromance ends with betrayal and guilty verdict. I don't subscribe, so I'm not sure I'll be able to get it. But it says GTII, Ham says, in the end they will all rat on each other. Kramer give up Mayo, Mayo gives up Kramer's mom, Kramer mom gives up her sons. Yeah, here's the chart. That's the chart. It's a darn good chart in finger. It's a double bottom. Maybe even a triple bottom. But that's a really good chart. And I would guess 350, 4. After 450, what's holding it back? I don't think very much. Get off of moms. Well, I didn't write it. I should have. You're right. I should have. God, I can't think of the word. I should have censored it. I apologize for that, Matthew. I don't want to insult moms. After all, let's get off of mothers. After all. See, I can't finish that one. Can't finish it. It's annoying. Can't finish things that you start sometimes. There it is. I'm just looking for my charger. and then I'll answer more questions. And I know I missed a bunch of questions at the beginning. Yeah, you're a mom. Oh, Mom. Oh, Mom. Oh, Mom. Deacon Blues. He said nothing wrong. Most mothers have children. Kramer's mother had freaks. Moody Waters, do you think any of the CEOs of the companies that were illegally shorted? Yes. Yes, I think some of the CEOs were complicit. And there's a whole lot of looking the other way. A whole lot. Because there's a huge benefit to CEOs to go along with this. They get their one-stop funding. They don't have to go on road shows. They don't have to have nervous phone calls as they're asking for money from real investors. And they get a placement. They can finance their next 2 or 3, 4, 5 years of needs. And if their stock crashes, well, they're getting their salary, they're getting their health care, they're getting their expense account, and they're still running the business. And they can say, well, I didn't know. My duty was to raise money. Well, I think their duty is to avoid these kind of toxic situations now that they know about it. The SEC put in their filing against Pantofel the word reckless in not knowing. Reckless in not knowing. Well, that kind of standard would get a lot of these CEOs in trouble. And I think it should. All right, Woody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm sorry it's not more exciting. One of these days, it will be. Phoenix is a dry heat. Yeah, that's for sure. Oh, DBMM to $5. I think DBMM is a play on Alpine going down, and apparently over 5 billion shares, 2.5 billion shares sold that don't exist by Kurt Kramer. But it's very close to that quicksand of being seller boxed. So I'd say it's high risk. On the other hand, I think Alpine is going down. So you think it could go to $5? That's interesting. Yeah, it might in a spike. I just think if it went to $1, it would be incredible. From where it is, I would say $10. I don't know. $10 would be like 1,000% from here. So 5 would be 500%. That seems high, but it could happen. Willfully blind, yeah. There's no word on the Alpine appeal yet. I haven't expected it. I don't know the deadline. You probably know the deadline. But there might be something tomorrow, huh? Friday? There might be something on Friday. Well, on DBMM, I'd be happy with $1. But 5 would be, I mean, that would be pounceable. That would be absolutely amazing. So finger closed at 299, it looks like. Not after hours. GTII at 85.99. I don't know if I have DBMM here. DBMM. Yeah, see, that's tough. 0.062, 0.0062 bid to 0.007. That is tough. That's a huge spread. You're as soon as you buy it at 0.007, if you could get out, you'd lose more than 10% of your money just selling it the same day. It's just a dicey situation. 304 now, yeah. It's the 29th? Okay. So the 29th is next week. And, you know, the judge, when she gives time for everybody, she gives them that time. So they'll hurry up and file it all on that last day, and then we'll hear something. I had it a while back, was up 3K and didn't sell. I don't know if you're talking about DBMM. I was in DBMM and had a profit, and I didn't sell. And I still have it. I've forgotten about it because I fully expect DBMM to be seller boxed and be an RNVA or whatever that other one was. But DBMM has a couple things going for it. The CEO, that's not her title, it's something else. She's great. I've never spoken to her. And it's got a massive short of 2.5 billion shares. And it was a Kurt Kramer beauty. So they used Alpine. Those are the things going for DBMM. Well, I'm glad you didn't sell Logic for 4,000, although you could be buying it back. Logic is at 30 cents. And yeah, I had a profit. We could have sold up there and bought it back now. But CB, everybody doesn't believe anything anymore in the market. And that's the problem that Gary Gensler has fostered. But they're, just to be repetitive, Logic is waiting for an S4 approval from the SEC. They applied for it months ago when they announced that they were going to roll Data Logic into a SPAC called Abri SPAC, A-B-R-I SPAC. The SEC's asked questions a couple of times, 3 times, and this last time they believe that was the final set of questions. So it's just a matter of waiting for the SEC to say it's okay. We don't have any more questions. That could happen tomorrow. It could happen next week. It could happen in 2 weeks. It's just hard to know. But when it happens on Logic, you're going to get Data Logic via this SPAC, which should open up trading at around $1, $1.15. They already have other deals to put in it, so it could go as high as $1.50 right off the bat. Logic, the shorts probably are selling Logic down on the theory that Logic's distributing Data Logic into the SPAC. They can always, once that happens, they'll have a chance to buy Logic back cheaper. I think they're going to be really disappointed because Logic, as Brent has said on his calls, they are working on acquisitions to go into Logic. I think Logic is worth 40 cents without Data Logic. So you're going to have $1.10, $1.15. You're going to have Logic worth 30 or 40 cents as a shell, not really a shell, because then they're going to buy something with it immediately. And they also own 4.5 million shares of GoLogic, which is down, I know, but that's about 5 cents a share. So if you're a trader, you missed an opportunity in Logic. If you're a trader, I didn't buy Logic to trade it every single day and get out. I bought Logic so that I can make the record date and for my one piece of paper end up with two pieces of paper. My one piece of paper is trading at 28 cents. Once the record date comes, which I expect in the end of June, but I'd have to say now it'll be the beginning of July, with an effective date mid-July, I think the stock goes to $1, $1.50. Maybe that's a sale. If it goes from 30 cents to $1.50 and GTII is still sitting at $1, maybe it makes sense to trade out of it and buy more GTII. I'll cross that bridge when it comes. But Logic is down because there's ongoing, in all of these stocks, the least resistance is to the downside. There's no regulatory concern if stocks go down. If people come on and try to educate and say, this stock might go up, the regulators are concerned with that. Anything that goes up bothers the regulators. If it goes down, it doesn't bother them at all. I really wonder what they're thinking. They're all young. As China comes in, swoops in, and buys the technologies of these companies out of bankruptcy, as China builds steel and infrastructure and the rest of Southeast Asia, India, as China puts a military plant in Cuba because our president is so befuddled, as his son gets off with a wrist slap on charges that people who were invited to walk around the Capitol by the Capitol Police are serving more time in jail. This kind of corruption and this kind of lack of regulatory oversight, this unfairness that's everywhere, people will stop trading in the markets. And so to the extent that the FBI's here, the DOJ, FINRA, SEC, why don't you look into stocks when the the bad actors sell them down? But anyway, on Logic, you're just getting impatient. You wish you had traded it. You could have traded out and bought more or bought less or whatever. That's 20/20 hindsight. But Logic hasn't even begun to move on fundamental reasons. And so it just depends on what your goal is. If you were in it for a hit and run, you missed a chance. But I think you're going to get another chance to see Logic go up. And I would argue that it's worth waiting for the record date so that if you want to get out of Logic, at least you can keep Data Logic, which should be a NASDAQ traded company. Yeah, I think it's worth waiting on Logic. I really do. Unfortunately, CEOs have to file. They have to go before the SEC before they do anything. They've got to make press releases. The criminals can just sell, and then they have lawyers who say, "Hey, we're not selling," and then they get out there with journalists saying, "Hey, there's no naked short selling." And then they have other journalists say, without short selling, people would be taken advantage of. Well, you know what? I'd rather be taken advantage of by a CEO telling me the fundamentals of their story than the criminals at Lynn Partners or I think Benchmark or Power Up Lending or Yorkshire Capital. I mean, they take everything away. You have your finger at Chase. So Chase has a brokerage firm? I didn't know that. I didn't know Chase had a brokerage firm. Public School 71. Yeah, put your GTC orders in. You can always change them. You can always lower them. Oh, E-Trade is not JP Morgan. E-Trade is Morgan Stanley. Yeah, I think they know the game is up. Look, we're trying to catch lightning in a bottle in a way. I think all the setup is there for Finger. Everybody's getting settlements with the SEC. The journalists don't want to read those news releases, but there's no question the criminality goes on. And all you have to do is look at the stock price in Finger and every other company except for, I think it's Bragg, that Lynn Partners has done. Maybe at the behest of Benchmark, so they can sit back and say, well, we're just getting a fee from Benchmark. But, hey, if your hands are dirty, your hands are dirty. I don't have any news on HNRC. I mean, the bullet points there are that the company is worth $1.50 or $1.55 in its oil and gas assets. There's a rumor that he might issue a cash dividend, and they already issued the WHDI as a dividend. Supposedly that's worth $1.75. Of course, we're all going to be, oh God, they're not letting it trade. We're getting ripped off. FINRA's going to steal from us. FBI, no one's. It's just all against us, and that's unfortunate because that's what Gensler. That's the mood he's set up in the marketplaces by his indifference to the slaughter that goes on in the over-the-counter markets and I think NASDAQ markets. But it's all of the markets. But no, I think I don't really have any news on it. I think they did another SPAC or sponsored another SPAC. But that was a week or so ago, and I don't really. Yeah, I don't see I guess it wasn't a news story. I like it. If Finger runs, I'll probably buy a little bit more of it. Your hands are dirty because you've been out in the garden. $3.50. Oh yeah, Matthew Parker. What I meant is $1.75 per share, but you're right. They gave half a share of WHDI for. I hope I'm getting that right. Yeah, for each share of HNRC. So you're exactly right. It's worth $3.50 a share, and I'm glad it's restricted because I think it gives time for management maybe to go out and tell the story and gin up evidence that maybe it's worth more than that. My read on it is they used historic costs to value the company, and maybe it's worth a lot more. Who knows? Cunningham deal was given until the end of second quarter. That'll be the primary reason for PR. Thank you. That's great. Yeah, it'd be nice to hear about it being registered, but for me, and look, there's no way around it. Once it becomes free to trade, people are going to sell, so it's going to dip. I would just like them to wait long enough so that it's just a dip and not a full-on, avalanche. My brokerage account is atomized all over this sea floor. Well, that's terrible that I didn't see that news. Let me look at it. I don't see McCabe joining as next big chairman as good or bad. I don't. I mean, I think it's good for the companies, good for McCabe, but I think I think it doesn't change anything with the situation for MMTLP. The corporate entity of Nextbridge did nothing wrong, and just because he joins, it's not going to blur those. It's not going to blur those lines. Maybe we'll be restricted. That's a good point. Sell a little bit at a time. That would be good. Registered. Yeah. Registered versus restricted. I missed off of that point. Yeah, that would be. I mean, that kind of brings up the question if there's naked shorting in that stock too. Mike Rousseau, seems pretty clear to me that the only way to catch out the system is do what MMTLP did. Is my observation wrong? Well, I think what happened with MMTLP was, frankly, Torchlight was trying to just get any kind of value out of their situation after being under an onslaught from criminals. And they merged into MMAT. So MMAT got the ticker. And I think MMAT looks like a really good company. But that MMAT had no interest in the oil deal. So they put that as just a distribution. It's like a stub left over. All MMAT wanted was the shell. So that was left over. And I think what happened is the criminals, I think there's a massive short position in MMTLP and in Torchlight and in MMAT. Massive. There was a AI bot that someone asked the question and it came back with $2.5 billion. You know what? I'm not disinclined to believe it. I think that might be right. So it's huge. So what happened is the criminals were caught out by that corporate action, and I don't think they had a solution. How do we get $1 billion or $2 billion stub distributions of Oro Grande into people's accounts? The solution they came up with, which is fraud, is they got MMTLP to be a publicly traded dividend. They got a symbol, MMTLP, and that allowed the system, all the broker dealers, to just put in your accounts. I had sold my Torchlight, but to put in everyone's accounts just fake MMTLPs. And then on top of that, the criminals figured, well, we'll just keep selling because we can even make more money, because their goal is to seller box. So anyway, that was a unique situation. But the problem was caused by the criminals in Torchlight, and then they got it trading to kick the can down the road. That's my opinion. Then MMAT and Nextbridge, well, it was Torchlight, but they basically changed their name. They had to come up with something. They went about, let's finish this deal up. We've distributed these stubs to everybody, but now it doesn't trade. But then they made it trading, but they didn't. It was the criminals that made it trading. But let's settle this up. Let's move that over, make you a viable company. And the stub was under the auspices of MMAT. So their deal was, look, we'll give this up, and you can, it's your company, and it's 1 for 1. Well, the massive fake shares crime got caught out. And I don't think it was unintentional. I think it was serendipity. So I don't really think that other companies are going to copy it per se, because there was so much chance in it. But if your question is, should people distribute parts of their company as private companies? Yeah, Vocal's doing that. Vocal's distributing their OG collection on Upstream. GTII has tried to do it several times. And other companies are looking into it, but we'll see. Maybe that's the way to catch out the system. I don't know. David Kurtzman, what about Ham's friends and the email float, the small float that should just move it? Just asking. I missed what stock. If you're talking about Finger, you're right. If you're talking about GTII, you're right, I think. Because of, you have to take as evidence the assumption that there's a massive short position in both cases. But yes, you're right. Donna Miles, I'm waiting for MMTLP too. I think it could be a long wait. I really do. It's just hard to get through to anybody. But if there's 2 billion shares that are worth $100 a share, is that 200 billion? I mean, if they're worth $1,000 a share, is that 2 trillion? Nobody in Wall Street is going to write a check for that. Nobody. Unless they're forced to. Those shares in your account, in my account, don't exist. So I just... I just don't see a settlement coming very soon in MMTLP. Hope I'm wrong. Now, I don't think MMTLP's resolution will come through Nextbridge unless it's a matter of Nextbridge issuing new shares at a high price to raise money for them and to be an independent company of their dreams, and it'll solve the criminals' problem, and we will all get shares. What are your thoughts on MMTLP money we all have sitting in our broker-dealer accounts? Are they using our money? The money's not sitting in the account, Skydog. You paid for your shares. The money went to the other side of the trade via the prime broker. So the money's either sitting in Bermuda, somewhere offshore, or it's at the prime broker. It's possible the money's sitting somewhere in the United States, but I doubt it. So the money you paid is out of your account. It's out of the broker-dealer's account. It's over at the prime broker in the account of the criminals. Remember, the criminals got stuck too. So to the extent that the criminals did not close out their positions, there's cash sitting in those accounts at the prime broker, not at your brokerage firm. Or the cash was transferred normally to settle the trade to the LLC that sold the stock. That cash may be in the Cayman Islands, or it may be in Moscow by now. It's gone. You have no money in your account. The DTCC will have to pay. But what I'm sensing, Deacon Blues, right now is there's an ongoing assault through the media to get congressmen and congresswomen and senators to believe that we are the Reddit boys, we are the Bernie brothers, and we don't deserve any payout, that it's some sort of sham on our part. And the SEC and FINRA are going along with it because they are completely shameless. FINRA stopped trading, in my judgment, because they didn't know what was going on when they approved it. And then all of a sudden, 100 broker-dealers were calling saying, how can we do this? These trades haven't settled. And then FINRA found out how big the problem is. FINRA knows how big it is. Absolutely knows how big it is. But they are getting cover in the press and in the media so they don't have to settle. That's their gambit right now. That's how I see it. Right now, they're going with their best efforts to drive the price of settlement as low as possible or to zero. And we're in the middle of that phase right now. I don't see the SEC enforcing settlement of the trades. Do you? I don't see FINRA doing it. Do you? They won't even give the blue sheets. So no, we're in the phase of Wall Street, the criminals, and their attorneys trying to convince everyone that you were greedy, I was greedy, and we don't deserve to be paid anything. That's what's happening right now, in my opinion. To offset that, which makes our situation so good, is there's 4 or 5 whales in this. They're not going to settle for being mistreated, and they're not going to sell you out either. So we just have to let it ebb and flow, ebb and flow. The attorneys for the criminals, the attorneys for the prime broker, the attorneys for the broker dealers, the attorneys for the LLCs, same thing I guess, and for the market makers, they are trying this strategy now. And they're hiring corrupt professors, quizzling reporters, and conflicted media moguls like Jim Cramer to convince everyone that the problem isn't with the criminals that did this. The problem's with all of you and me. I don't think they're going to get away with it, but it takes time for that strategy to play out. I just don't see a settlement happening anytime soon. Nextbridge is not in control of the price, Deacon Blues. Nextbridge is in control of how quickly they develop the Oro Grande field. They're in control of taking the steps that improve the value to their shareholders. They're in control of whether or not they do another financing. They have absolutely no control over what Wall Street settles with you and with me for counterfeit fake shares. They have no control over that. None. Zero. Zip. Zut. Nada. None. The negotiation right now is going on with a cowardly Gary Gensler, a absent FINRA, a bunch of jokers at OTC markets, and the back offices of every firm that's been damaged by this. And it's all lawyers. And it has nothing to do with NextBridge. No, the criminals will not have to negotiate with NextBridge unless they do. I'm saying it's my idea because I came up with it first, as far as I know, but it's so obvious anybody could think of it. If the solution is NextBridge needs capital and lawyers have cross claimed the assets at NextBridge. So NextBridge can't really raise any money because lawyers all over the place are saying they're at fault, which they're not. If NextBridge wanted to raise $2 trillion, $2 trillion, they get around the table, they get their shareholders to vote into place an expansion of their cap table to 3 trillion shares. They call up the prime broker and the attorneys. They call up the regulators. They call up everybody. And they say, look, we're willing to issue 2 trillion shares to solve this problem for $1,150 a share. How do you come up with your numbers? One, the deal is every shareholder is supposed to get 1 over 165 million share of Ora Grande. If we issue all these shares, we're going to be diluting them. So that's the biggest reason we raised the price. 2, we're going to pay the lawyers $100 of the settlement. So the lawyers are going to make billions. They'll all be able to ditch their wives and their husbands and get someone younger, because they've been so important in this whole time. The only one that the ones I see here, they're amazing. Richard, Rosa, not legal advice, Mark. But I'm talking about the ones that are slowing it all down. So anyway, we'll give $100 a share to the lawyers. It'll come out at settlement. It's not coming through NextBridge. And $50 will go to every shareholder as a cash distribution. Or flip that. $50 to the lawyers, $100 to each shareholder. And then each of you will get a stock in your account that is NextBridge shares. In that case, the criminals would have to negotiate with NextBridge. But you guys, you got to face the facts. NextBridge did not defraud you. It looks like a bunch of people out of Germany sold billions of shares. They defrauded you. The prime broker was reckless in not knowing or knew. They defrauded you. And there's surely more than one prime broker. And I think your broker-dealers were reckless in not knowing. I think they defrauded you. Me too. I think FINRA, it looks like FINRA committed fraud by, or at least a massive conflict of interest, by approving trading. And that was the value proposition to everybody. And the SEC had taken weeks, if not months, looking into it. So the value proposition was, well, we'll each get our shares in NextBridge, and maybe there's a squeeze beforehand, but The SEC looked at the books, FINRA looked at it all, and they approved it. FINRA approved it either Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon. I think it was Wednesday afternoon. Thursday, broker-dealers come in and see the news on their desk that it's approved. 105 broker-dealers. And it says that by Monday, you have to have your trades settled up. And they started ringing the phones over at FINRA saying, we can't get this done on time. They probably got 105 phone calls. Jessica Hopper. So Thursday it traded, but the phone's ringing all day. And then some criminals sold, and guess who else sold? FINRA sold. So there's a real argument there for fraud. They got $2 billion, $2.5 billion. I think FINRA will lose all its money because of this. But I think FINRA Friday morning is like, what can we do? And they stopped trading. I'm not as convinced that FINRA stopped trading because they're in cahoots with Jeff Easton or whomever. I'm not convinced of that at all. I just think they thought that you just keep, and they said it in one of their solutions, just keep moving the failed to deliver stocks down the road. They got caught out. But you guys, you got to understand, MMAT delivered 165 million shares of NextBridge to the DTCC, or through the transfer agent first, whichever direction it goes. And that's it. That's all they had to do. NextBridge received them, and they know who the shareholders are. That's all they had to do. The fraud happened out of Germany. The fraud happened out of in my opinion, your brokers, the prime brokers, the LLCs, and the market makers. That's where the fraud happened. The shares don't exist. They do not exist. Now, I've given my solution, and I think it would solve this, and everyone would be happy. NextBridge should issue shares, and NextBridge would be bigger than I don't know about Exxon, but it'll be bigger than Chevron, be bigger than Royal British Petroleum, Beyond Petroleum. I don't know. I think $2 trillion assets plus the value in cash, plus the value of Oro Grande would make it one of the best funded, best stories on Wall Street, and you could collect dividends for the rest of your life. Melt my flip-flops and palm strings. I was thinking about that. It's been a long time since I've been to the beach. There is no quantum short. There is no confirmation. Quantum short. Oh, God. I guess it's just these are such complicated concepts that I just don't know how to explain it. But if at the DTCC, AST shows that Merrill Lynch has 1 million shares. That's allocated. That is allocated to Merrill Lynch. And that makes it full. However, Merrill Lynch has the further responsibility to distribute to you your shares. But in Merrill Lynch's books, there's 10 million shares. So Merrill is probably not going to distribute the 1 million shares fully until they find out what the lawyers tell them to do. So you're right. AST probably has a book entry for Merrill Lynch for 1 million shares, waiting to find out that it's Skydog for 10,000 and Jenny L for 500 and Spiny Newman for 50,000. But Merrill hasn't made that final cut yet. They may have some special clients they're going to look out for first, but they haven't done it yet. And that's when you say that AST is not full, that's what you're talking about. You're saying call your broker, have them put your shares at AST in the name of M Echo. But AST is full. What you're counting on is that there's some flexibility on the part of the broker dealers that could go your way. That's all. And they'll give you all the other explanations, but so she told you she found love in your eyes. But I can only warn you that sometimes she lies. Diego, let's not wish death on our enemies. That would make us more like they than we would wish. Jenny, I lost your question. 5 dead. Implosion. They would have been crushed instantly. I guess that's good. They wouldn't feel pain. Quick and painless, dying almost instantly. It would have been sudden. They wouldn't even know. Being here 1 minute, you're alive 1 millisecond, and the next millisecond you're dead. Yeah, Abdul Razik, GTII is trading brilliantly. I think Finger is trading terrifically as well. That's a singing contest. No, I bought them. To put behind hit me. Well, sad. I don't think they're right. It says B of A is the first to call a market melt up, a new bubble. I don't know. We've been talking about it. You were talking about it was so hot in Palm Springs that my shoes melted to the sidewalk. I walked right out of them. Jenny L. I hope the soles of your feet didn't get burned. M Echo, yeah, carbon fiber, and they made the window out of acrylic, I think, instead of glass. Let's see. Anyway, I don't want to be negative on MMTLP. What I'm saying is they have to play out the various dances that the lawyers for the criminals have to play this dance. And once that's over, I fully expect that the big guys are going to argue for really high prices. Maybe my idea or some form of it will be implemented, and I think you guys are going to have a huge payday. So I'm not trying to be. Hang on. There's an MMTLP space going on. Maybe they have better.
Sort of intense and talking over each
No,
other.
it's not that. No, we're just
Maybe
having
they
a
have better
conversation.
information than
the
I do.
last guy had his hand up and he
Sorry,
was in
glass guy.
line before you,
I'm sorry,
Dr.
glass
Ed.
guy.
Because you know what I wanted to say.
Sorry,
Yet.
glass guy.
Everyone put it in. No, I was supposed to go. I didn't go yet. I just started talking and everyone butted in.
All right,
Okay,
this
I think
isn't
that's
going
what I
to
was
last
gonna say.
long.
One thing I wanted to say, I have two things I wanted to say. First, next bridge,
has zero communications with us. They
As-
have not told us anything
As
regarding
it should be.
the shareholder situation, with the shares being the way they are. So I don't know what's going on with that. And of course, as we know, McCabe now is chairman of the board. He has a lot to lose if this goes bankrupt. It's not going to happen. Thirdly, about contacting Congress and the Senate, I have all of my tweets mapped out until the end of July. So you will see a tweet from me every single business day going to the Senate and Congress, and specifically the Financial Services Committee and the Senate subcommittee on banking, insurance, and securities. So I'm hoping everyone else is doing something similar to that. I hope everyone's going to be tweeting every day or calling every day or emailing every day. Just do something. You have to make sure that they get sick of hearing from you. So much so that, like, let's just get this done. We're getting tired of hearing from these people. That's what we want. But be, of course, very courteous and professional. You'll never see my emails in any other fashion. I'm sorry, my tweets in any other way. Always courteous and professional. Always. You'll never. And actually, I'm using some of the tweets that people sent out. For their pain and suffering. They had some profanity in there. I actually had to bleep them when I resend them. I have to actually put a little asterisk, like for the F word. I put an asterisk there so that it doesn't spell out the whole word. I won't send it out that way. That's not good for Congress or the Senate to see it in that fashion. So this way, they'll think that they put the asterisk in there. I mean, I do everything in PowerPoint, so I'm able to do all that. But I'm hoping everyone has an action plan. Everyone has to have an action plan to contact Congress and the Senate. Everyone in our community has to do their part. Don't let just those few that are influencers here do all the work. It's not fair and it's not right. You want resolution? Do your part. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thanks, Paul. Glass guy, what's up?
No, just listening. I'm kind of with Dr. Edward as far as I don't think Congress is going to do anything. But with that being said, I think that we could pester them for the next how many months, and I think we should do it more organized. I think we should take a couple Congress to spend the whole week and just bombard them with phone calls all day long and kind of make a game out of it and just keep them on the phone and do a John Bowen on them and just ask them questions after question and do parables, and they love John Bowen. But,
All right, so I'm not
just keep
learning
them on the
anything.
phone as long as possible.
I'm going to just get off of that because I'm not learning anything. And it'll just make me irritable. Form an LLC with Ham? I don't know what else you can do. You can call in, but they won't necessarily take your call. Write letters. Write a letter to the editor. I just don't know. We're doing everything we can. Sorry for my... This is sparkling water. No. No. No.
You can come in, I'm working.
No.
I'm working. Okay? You can commit and working. I'm working. Okay?
Little dogs. They're halting finger right now. Let me look. Let me look. Who's saying that? Martin Smith. I don't know. I don't think they're halting finger. Yeah, I'm sorry there's not a lot more content tonight. Oh, not officially. Well, I don't know about it. I don't know that they're gonna. You know, when Wall Street gets out of balance, and let's say Finger costs $10 billion to resolve, that money's not leaving the markets. It's moving from a prime broker or two and from the criminals over to your accounts, my accounts. And we're in the market, and we're likely to buy stocks or leave the money at our brokerage account. So it's not, yes, it could threaten a bank, a brokerage firm, but it's not going to destroy the whole system. So I'm not as sure they're going to stop trading as you are. Oh, playing with the price right now? No, I don't think they're playing with the price. I think whoever short the stock is trying to keep it down. And we don't know who that is. But I think the nexus of it is Lind Partners. And I think they're in trouble. And so the fact that the price comes down is an indication, one, that the shorts are in trouble. They can't let it go up. And two, it's an indication of a really smart big buyer. You know, accumulating, pulling it back. What happens if this now runs to $5? There's cover here. There's cover here for this to run to $5. So all the stock that the shorts are selling yesterday and today, they're going to be underwater on. Everything they sold, they're going to be underwater on. Now, if you believe that what happens is that the computers sell and buy back, and somehow that drives the stock down $10 in a few weeks, you're not going to agree with me. My neck is killing me. Yeah, Mike, I'd meet with Senator Booker and Ham, or with Anna and myself. There's some people that have been in this week. I just haven't felt up to it, but I'd be glad to. Oh, I need a massage. Pharaoh, do I believe the HKD investors will buy in? Yes, I do. All right, Skydog. He's probably already gone. Oh no, what can I do? Baby's in black and I'm feeling blue. Tell me, oh, what can I do? I think of her, but she thinks only of him. I held my shares just for dividend. Now I don't have neither. I'm not sure that's right. I know it's tough that there's so much death in the world, in the Ukraine, in ongoing in Africa and other parts of the world, and of course these families. It's just got to be devastating. I think, there's no silver lining, but if it just happened in a nanosecond, at least they didn't suffer. I think it's very difficult. Well, Skydog's gone. I think it's very difficult to transfer shares to AST. A lot of people did it before the stop trading, and in retrospect, I wish I had handled it that way. Jenny, did you burn your little piggies? Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know what would happen, Fritz. I think in the last bit it would have happened all at once. But wouldn't they have heard something? Wouldn't they start feeling it go? Ugh. Ugh. You'd hear the crack, a big crack, and a big... I wouldn't do it. I went to Cairo years ago with a group, and they all went into the pyramid, which I wish I'd done now. But I just had the feeling, what if it collapsed while you were in there? I don't know. It was irrational. I wouldn't have gotten in that sub. There's nothing I could see of the Titanic from a sub that would be any different than watching a movie about it. Well, Fritz, flappy ears, I don't think it would leak. Once it started leaking, I think it'd be all over, because the pressures are so massive. The pressures are... It's just so massive. Yeah, I know the screaming. Well, one thing I heard about that, Fritz, is the carbon dioxide would actually have a numbing effect, so they might not have been screaming. Well, Eric, that's right. What else are they doing while the billionaires are trapped in a tube? One is Blinken told China, we're not going to defend Taiwan, basically. And China's going to build military bases in Cuba. And Hunter Biden got a wrist slap. Those are all things that are happening while we're being distracted. Oh, so it was all titanium. It was all titanium. Well, I heard that the window was acrylic. And I also heard the guy took some shortcuts. It just doesn't sound so good. And the guy's a billionaire. Why don't they just get a regular submarine? You know, rent one from the Navy. In the Navy. I just don't. Personally, I would have no desire to be the person down there seeing it. I don't need to see it. I watched the movie, and the movie went on and on and on and on and on. Oh, regular submarines don't go that deep. Deep. I want to have an exclusive experience, but I don't want to spend too much money on my safety. Well, you're almost guaranteed to have an exclusive experience. Yeah, it's just... Well, everybody dies. Yeah, 10 million shares of GTII. I don't know. Oh. This ongoing... No, yeah, not everybody dies like that. I know. It's just awful. And they were all young, you know. They had the rest of their lives ahead of them. I don't know. Had that sub gone down before? I guess it had gone down before. Oh. Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg planning steel cage match. I know who will win. I know who will win. Elon Musk will win that. Mm. Whew. I need a massage. Oh, you think Zuckerberg would? I think as soon as it's going to be like that scene in Family Guy where they have the Fight Club and Mort goes, as soon as I say ow, it's over. Yeah, the birds are having fun. I don't know if there's much more for me to talk about tonight. I think I think there's going to be good news on GTII. I think the buyers are going to come in on Finger because I'm just basing that on what I'm seeing. And I think there's going to be good news on Logic in terms of getting the S4 approval. And I can't give you good news on the elections. Can't give you good news on much else. I do know that Carlos Alcaraz is playing at the Queen's Cup, or whatever it's called, the Queen's something in London, with the goal of regaining the #1 ranking in the world. I personally think it was unfair that he ever got the #1 ranking, because Djokovic won Wimbledon last year, and he didn't get credit for 2,000 points. I think maybe we'll have to have a game here, and we'll use Zuck Bucks or GTII Bucks to bet. Breaking Point, it's on Tennis Players. I'll watch that one. Is it on Prime? I don't have Netflix, but I can buy that one documentary. Ah, the pain. My prediction? Pain. My prediction is pain. It's terrible when I run out of ideas.
It's already late, Coda. I'm not playing anymore. I don't feel like I'm tired. I already played with you earlier. What? You gonna bully me? Yeah? You gonna bully me? It's already late, Coda. I'm not playing anymore. No. I don't feel like I'm tired. I already played with you earlier.
Aw, what a good guy. What a good guy. Avid has another video out. That guy is pretty good, I think. He works hard. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. As soon as you look at one dog, they show all these dogs that need rescuing. It's hard to watch. HKD investors buy in at 5 fingers so they can make it squeeze it too low for them to get in. No, I don't think so, Pharaoh. I think obviously it depends on their parameters. But no, I don't think it's too low. It's an interesting question though, and the sort of the corollary to your question is they would rather pay $15 or $20 anyway. But the other way to do it, I'm just speculating, Pharaoh, is they could do a deal with Finger of some kind at some price, the higher, and then the stock price drifts upward. I don't know. It's an interesting question, Pharaoh. I think it shows that you're using your brain and using it well. It's a good question. I'm just not sure it's a U.S. institution, which is why I'm not sure $5 will make a difference. Finger hasn't had any halts since 10/5/22. Did it have one then? I don't remember. Better than ARCA, but by how much? Raise the ticket to 1 million then. The submarine, I don't think the ticket price would have done it. It was the submarine. There was some warnings. One guy resigned from the company, the risk. NASDAQ trader. Let me see. What happens if I hit that, Matt? Nothing. Nothing happens. Let me think why they stopped trading. Must have been an order imbalance of some kind. I can't remember why they would stop trading. Was it when it was running up? That's a good idea, Fritz. Just have in-place stations they can go to. That would have been smart, because then they could have moved the sub up to a existing like cottage underwater. Yeah, volatility hold. Yep. Frank, MMTLP becoming an embarrassment. Yeah, I look, it's unfortunate, but it's going the route of a lot of lawyers being involved, and that just takes time. It just takes time. I don't expect a quick resolution of MMTLP. How's that for a prediction? Unless someone takes charge of it. You need to oil your epes this weekend, and it's not a euphemism. They may be short, but they sure are thin. When that sub popped, they got hit with 400 times our atmospheric pressure. A quicker way to die than a bullet to the brain. Quicker way to die than investing in any stock that Kurt Kramer's involved in. Hey, lucky boy. I heard you eating. I heard you eating. He's He's getting so old. So today with Finger, I really thought the stock was going to continue its upward trend, but I think it's okay what happened today. Because if something goes straight up, it tends to come straight down, and I'd like the breakout. The higher the breakout point, the higher I think the ultimate spike could be. Oh. Well, that's it. That's why. That's all we're seeing today. There's Finger, and you're seeing it break through the 200-day moving average, and it punctures through, and then it pulls back, and now it looks like they've made it resistance again. But that'll be kind of, if you use a fat finger approach, it's just kind of testing support there. That'll become support. $2.99 or $3 will become support. They might have to go sideways 2 or 3 days. But that's pretty impressive. You got 4 days up, one flat-ish, and one, I guess, slightly down. Short, sir? They're no shorter than my sabers. It's cold. Dave, it's cold. But you know what else it might be is I might be getting gout. Sometimes when I get gout, I get chills. So it might be that. But I feel cold. It's... To you Brits, it's bracing. It's bracing. He's such a good boy. If I could make a boy to bottle up and sell to the public, it would be Lucky Boy. He's such a good guy. All right, Jenny L. So I can stay up all night now that Jenny's going. Gout, the rich man's disease. Yeah, it's we all live that way. I think gout might be, and that's what I should think about. I think it might be much more high fructose corn syrup. I wonder if I ate some high fructose corn syrup. Yes, it does. I do have, I don't have any colchicine. I do have some cherries, which I'll eat. Jenny, thank you. And I hope your flip-flops are still flopping. Well, I have some info on Ham's meeting, but I don't have any what you would call specific information or insider information. And I just don't want to relay some of what he told me just in case it could be misconstrued. But I really don't know. All I know is like Pedro Philly said, the stock price will start telling you. Look at the volume. The volume went from moribund. The volume went from moribund to over 1 million a day, and the price has gone from $1.50 to $3. It's doubled in just a week. It's telling you something, and I don't think so. Anyway. Any info on what they said? He spent quite a bit of time laying out what happened to Finger in terms of benchmark, the Lynn Partners. He didn't go into the fundamentals because the principles were there. And Tom Ronk's report. It's all stuff that's out there in the public. And they ask questions. How do you know this is the real number? How do you know this? How do you know that? And I think they're buying. That's right, Matthew. I think they're buying. The volume is just, if you look from just the last 4 trading days, it's 4 or 5 million shares traded. And that hasn't happened. Now it's starting to rain. That hasn't happened in a long, long time, over a year. Yeah, he was thirsty, Dan. He hopped up on there, and I couldn't tell him that he's not supposed to do it, but he was very happy. When we walk around, he loves to drink all the other water that's out there. I guess the water here isn't as good. All right, I think I might quit at 7:30 because I just am running out of things to say. And I ran out of them a while ago. Tomorrow's Friday. I don't think anyone who's truly short, naked short in the sense of a day trader kind of guy, they're not going to want to carry Finger over the weekend. So you might see some buying tomorrow. I'm excited for Finger. I'm excited for Logic, by the way. And I'm excited for GTII. And I'm excited by NextBridge, but I just don't know how and when it's all going to shake out. But we've got a lot of things going, which is good. All right, so when do you think the big buyers will try and get in? I think they're already starting to buy, but they might not be. So your question isn't a bad one. If they're trying to negotiate some sort of deal with Finger, maybe they got to wait till that's over with. I don't know. But I'd say in the next few days. I'd say if you don't see a lot of buying next week, maybe it's not happening. But I think tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think they're going to buy. Look, if they're already buying, it would be wasteful to stop buying. But, that's their decision. I can't put that one up because that would cause too much political angst. But I did laugh at it. That'd be fun. Get a doggy cam. That would be great. That could be spiny. It could be people Ham's talking to. I think it could also be interpreted that it was a professional buyer, so they're bidding up. Like Ham always says, bid buy half and bid for the rest. And they might have been doing that, just going up and buying, then bidding for the rest, and just letting Lynn Partners or whoever it is hoist themselves by their own petard. Yeah, on-site TV, I agree with that. If we squeeze, you're going to quit as soon as possible. I don't blame you for that. Unless they change how they enforce the rules, or there's more transparency, or they disallow certain behaviors that are clearly illegal before they even happen, there's no way to win in the over-the-counter markets. None. All markets are getting hurt. But at least in the bigger markets, there's bigger buyers. But they're all getting just hurt. You're paying for it. So Will from Saratoga Springs, my friends, I've been a little depressed because I wasn't invited. But my friends... went over to the UK. They went over to the UK, and I'll show it to you what happened. Are they going to let me show it? They might not let me show it to you. That's a month ago. 1 month ago. 1 day ago. All right, so let me try one of these then. Here, this one. Okay. So, Crimson Advocate. Crimson Advocate.
Crimson Advocate in the red leading to GTII. Up there with these as well, thanks but no thanks, and launching Got to Love a Grey. The yellow jacket there, the beautiful diamond is not far behind. Kinan is right on the heels of these two. Rebel Rally and the green colours as already they approach the final 2 furlongs of Crimson Advocate. In the red, white and blue, the near side, a beautiful diamond moves through in the second position. Behind this Rebel Rally, Got to Love a Grey and Juniper Berries. Over on the far side, the dark blue of Flora of Bermuda's up there, but near side it continues to be Crimson Advocate with a clear advantage, but here it's Relief Rally and Tom Marquardt coming towards the line. It's very tight. Crimson Advocate and Relief Rally behind those a few lengths away, the beautiful diamond and Juniper Berries and Flora of Bermuda.
What a finish. Has Relief Rally bobbed it on the line? I don't know. It's so close. So close. Crimson Advocate. And, oh my goodness me, Relief Rally, who was causing all those problems before the start, in a photo in the Queen Mary. Who's won it, Kev? Do you know? You going to call it? Is it brave enough?
I think it's the American filly, isn't it? Oh, it's desperate. I think Relief Rally was in front for a moment. Oh, that was your bob.
Maybe slightly before and slightly after the line, but for those of us with Relief Rally...
So, Will, that horse, my friends owned it. They don't own all of it, just I don't know what part they own. But they own, isn't that exciting? So they went over. I wasn't invited. But they all went over, enjoyed their time, and Crimson Advocate won. Moody Waters. Does that mean I can stop doing it? Well, Diego, they took your money. They took your money and settled your trade, and that's what's happening in the whole system. So your money's gone. The battle that's going on right now with MMTLP, as absurd as it is, because I think it's absurd, is they're trying to argue you shouldn't get anything back because you were just greedy, I was greedy. That's not going to fly. But they're trying it. They're putting it out there. And then the second argument's going to be that they use the $2.87. That's not going to fly. I bet they then go to we should unwind the trades. I don't think that's going to fly. The longer it goes on, the more risk they have of just destroying all confidence in the markets. Yeah, I've been to Del Mar. Oh, you went up to the pyramid and never went in? Yeah. One thing, I wish they hadn't dynamited the hole in that pyramid. I also wish, Frank, that, a lot of the, for lack of a better word, marble, I don't think it was marble, maybe it was granite, is in Cairo. They built buildings out of it. They took the rocks down. I wish they hadn't done that. I wish they had tried to leave it alone, because who knows, maybe the pyramid was a method of getting energy, and if they just left it alone, maybe we could learn how that worked. All right, so it's 7:30. Hold all tickets. Hold all tickets. That horse is out of Nyquist, and they paid her 25 grand to go over because she won some race. So it's pretty cool. I would have liked to have seen that. I spent a little bit of time with a friend of mine because he owned some horses, so I got to go to a couple of the restaurants where Bob Baffert and some other horse trainers, they're skipping my mind right now, and I met them, sat with them. It was kind of fun. I just listened because it's, I don't know anything. But I love going to the races. And I always bet, but not too much. I'm not really following the AMC lawsuit. And I can't even think what it's about right now. I kind of gave up on AMC and GME a while ago. After it squeezed the first time, I think they got it under control. So anytime it runs up, they sell it back off. And I don't know. I just feel like they're not going to let those squeeze. But who knows? In a market meltdown, they could. Escape from Dubai. All right, I'll get that book. I might already have it. It sounds familiar, but if it's new, I don't have it. There was a book about Dubai. I can't remember the name, but it was a few years ago that I bought. Well, Saratoga, I've been up to. Maybe I'll come up. You know what? It would just be great if one of these stocks, one that you own, like AMC, I don't own it, but you own it, just one of them went. It would show the world that, well, Brian, I think GTII it's completely a squeeze story, and it has the benefit they can't stop trading. I think good things are in for tomorrow. So anyway, it's 7:33. I'll see if there's any questions. Otherwise, I might just end it here shortly because I'm knackered. I'm a bit knackered. Enemy series. All right, I'll take a pictures of that too. Enemy series. Charles Higson, is that related? Is he related to the God particle, or is that Ham's friend show up and tomorrow? Yeah, wouldn't it be something, Chow? Wouldn't it be something if they just started buying tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday? It'd just be amazing. Yeah, I need to rest. I need to get some culture seen. Whoever said that. I'll eat my cherries. I'll feel better tomorrow. But that is what it is. That's what's giving me the chills. It's not so much the weather. That's what it is. I didn't think of that. 80-1 odds winner. Finger GTI, and that's what it'll feel like if and when it happens. And I don't know if this group can play in the over-the-counter markets, but you can be sure that Ham would have talked to him about GTII. All right, I'll get it. 7 books. Yeah, an Epsom salt and bath would be great. Just going into one of those hot springs up in up in West Virginia would be great. But there's no new news on this submarine. Titanic teen was terrified. 19 years old. Poor guy. Top secret U.S. Navy sonar detected Titan sub implosion hours after submersible lost contact with its mothership. All right. You don't have Twitter? Well, Ham hasn't said anything about the meeting specifically. He made some allusions to potential meetings this week. Somebody knew, I forget who it was on this stream, knew that it was happening in the evening. So he must have talked about it. But no, he didn't really put it out blow by blow on Twitter. Giving you hope. It's not the despair, Laura. It's not the despair. It's the hope. I can deal with the despair. It's the hope. All right, let it ride. All right, nag, nag, nag. You tell Jenny that you nagged me. Now Dan is nagging. Perpetual dividends would be great. Perpetual dividends would be great. All right, so I guess I'm going to sign off and wish everybody peace, love, and happiness. And I just have to get another bit of subject matter that's interesting to you and me. Tomorrow's another day. And if we're lucky, a lot of the shorts in Finger will want to close their positions. They won't want to be long over the weekend. What's the benefits of holding MMTLP rather than transferring to AST? Edward, I would trade. If you have an opportunity to transfer it, I would transfer it. That's my opinion. The only benefit of holding it is that you might get it trading beforehand, but I would. I think I would. Old elephants. Old elephants just fade away. All right, so I already said good night, so I'll just wish you all well, and hopefully we'll meet again tomorrow. And cheers.